one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any unscheduled items of public interest?
We have none.
Seeing none. Any changes or additions to the agenda?
We have none, sir.
None from staff? Any from the board?
No comments?
Okay, board comments.
Yeah, I just have one. At the Partnership for Douglas County Government yesterday, I had the chance to give an update for ParkerWater. And so what I told them about was the upcoming water festival that's going to be showing up real soon. And it just made me think that, all those towns have like newsletters and websites and stuff. And if we could really, I'm really excited about the water festival. So if we could really maybe tap into those folks to even try and get the word out even more, that would be really great.
Absolutely. We'll get that to them and see if we can get more of the word out.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty nice festival. I believe it's about a 4-hour water festival geared towards children. And then Castle Rock is going to have a band there and the beer trucks, of course. And so I think it'll be a really good event.
Yeah, I told them, the kids are going to get wet, they're going to have a lot of fun, but they're going to learn about water. And then afterwards, for wet parents, is a beer garden. So, and then they kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah. So that's all I had.
Anything? Nothing.
I've got a couple things. So the Grand Valley students made it here all right. They came on Sunday night, and they arrived after driving for 2 days. They arrived here about 7 o'clock at night, and Ron and I met them, and we took them over to the reservoir where they got a chance to see the gold mine that's over there and go inside it, and also see the Indian Native American prayer circle. So that was kind of interesting. The two professors were geologists, so their eyes were locked on the ground, and they all found several pieces of petrified wood, so that was pretty good. And then on Monday, we met them here at 9 o'clock and did a training on water rights, because in Michigan, you're never 5 miles from a lake, stream, or river or Great Lake, and so water rights and things like that are not critical. Water supply is not critical like it is out here, so they were learning about that, and we took them through the lab and then also a tour of our facility, and we ended up taking them onto the dam there, and we were going to take them out on our abutment that sticks out there. But the problem was when we got there, the dam bugs were all out, and so there were so many bugs around the dam that we moved further down to the, what do they call the?
Spillway, yeah.
The spillway there, and got a chance. And then following that, we met up on top and fed them lunch, and I think they had a really good time. So it was, I think it was a good, for them, I think they learned a lot, and for us, it was a good chance to entertain them a little bit. And down the road, who knows where that'll lead.
Absolutely. It's so encouraging. Super smart kids and very polite.
Great kids, yeah. Ask good questions. It put a lot of faith in the next generation.
Yeah.
Okay, leadership team.
Okay. So we changed the slide a little bit on not sure I did that, but to try to make it a little more, so you could see the changes a little better. So you notice we, in the last couple of weeks, 306 acre feet down. That's a combination of a few things. If you recall, we had captured a lot of water out of priority. And so instead of releasing it, we haven't been pumping our return flows up there. So it's a combination of using it and not pumping up there. And also demands are shooting up quickly, which is concerning, actually. It's been kind of a cool May, and we've already hit 16 million gallons a day. So we're jumping into it both feet this time. So, but just to let you know, we're still hovering at 27,000 acre feet, which is great. Whoops. before we go there, I had a couple things. I'm always late, and so I wanted to let the board know, you noticed the wagon when you came in. So it's pretty cool, I think.
Really cool.
So they got it here, they got the little ropes around it. We're still 3 weeks out from the cool stuff with the signage, but that is a 100-plus-year-old wagon. It's the old-fashioned Conestoga wagon. If you watch Westerns, are the ones that have that kind of arch look to them. But once it was here, once it came from the east, it was then retrofitted years later for oil and gas to service cars. And so we're going to get that all out on there. So I think that'll look good. I believe by the end of July, we'll have all the Native American and other historical artifacts up, a timeline and everything on that side of the entryway. And I tell you, I just know this is going to be something that's very popular just based on just having the wagon there. It is a talking point for everyone that's coming in. So I think it's really, really cool. And I'm thankful for the county to partner with us on this. So love that. The other thing I was going to bring up, so every time we have an election, we're trying to get in the habit to do the training. Usually, if we have someone new, there's a good reason. We have the same board back, but we thought it was a good refresher. So Jeff always does his more the legal stuff, what your role is, what you can and can't do type of thing. And what I'd like to do, and I'll get you more information to make sure you're all cool with it, but there's 2 trainings we would like to do over the next couple months. One is, it's the disc profile, all of us at the staff do, and it just helps us communicate with one another. And so if I'm going to meet with someone, I look at their disc profile, we'll know how to communicate. And I thought we did it with the board several years ago, and I think Director Klotz and Director Wasserman are the only 2 we have. And it changes over time, so we thought we'd like to do that. It's all in-house. We have the skill set in-house to do that, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So we'd like to do that. And then what we'd also like to do is, it's more like a version of what SDA does, and it helps you guys deal with the challenges of being a board member in this age of social media and all the political stuff going on. We thought, well, SDA doesn't do it anymore, but there's a consultant that can do it for us, and we'd like to bring them in and just walk through that. And we think it'd just be pretty informational. I think they said they needed an hour, so we could make it shorter. So what I thought I'd do is get you kind of the agendas, make sure that's something you're interested in, and then we'll get it scheduled.
Do any of those make sense to invite some of our neighboring districts in for?
I probably have to think about it. I think the SDA one will probably be, it's being coordinated with what Jeff writes, and so it's kind of a combination. So I don't know if it may be okay for others, but I think it's definitely for you guys.
Just a question.
Yeah, I think it'd be more powerful just with you. Okay. All right. That's all I had.
All right. Just an update on the audit. We continue to work through issues as they come up. I'm optimistic still that it's going well, so I'll just knock on wood there to make sure, or as my wife would do on this. Something interesting, we were informed from our partner that the audit manager that's been assigned to our audit has resigned, and he wanted more of a work-life balance. And he was actually interested in coming to ParkerWater and work here. We don't have a position open for him at this time, but it was just interesting that was his thought process.
Can he paint hydrants?
He probably could, but I think he'd probably be wanting a little bit
I mean,
more.
he can work his way up there. So.
Like James, he was an unpaid intern. Look at him.
Exactly.
Our focus right now is on the supplementals that are required to be with the financial statements and also the MDA or management discussion and analysis. So we're working, that's our focus for next week. We do expect to get another draft next week, which we'll share with the audit committee, and the audit committee will be meeting on June 3rd. I know both of you are planning to come to that. And Mike, who's in the background here, he plans to come here too. He's on the audit committee. And then a presentation to the full board will be on June the 12th. So that's everything for the audit right now. Questions, comments? Seeing none.
None here.
Good evening. Just wanted to give a quick update on the North Plant expansion. At the last board meeting, it was approved for the owner's advisor for that project. So just as we continue with that, we did a lot of outreach starting late last year after the master plan was done in terms of really working with contractors and engineering firms around the area to see who would be interested in this project. So we did receive design build proposals from 4 companies, 4 teams, I should say, Phelance and HDR, Garney, Burns and McDonald, Overland Contracting, who is a partner with Black & Veatch, and then PCL and Stantec. We are in the process of reviewing those right now. Our owner's advisor is also reviewing those. We will sit down next week, I think it's the 28th, and kind of discuss our internal rankings and see who we want to shortlist for interviews. And the interviews will take place on June 5th and 6th. And then on the June 12th meeting, board meeting, that'll be the first reading of the resolution to use design build delivery for this expansion. And then on June 26th is the second reading for that, as well as requesting board approval for the design build contract. So, moving along well, and the proposals have been really interesting so far. Any questions?
Okay.
So I apologize. Obviously, Rebecca and James aren't here today, and it's that time of year when everyone is graduating and all that fun stuff. So Stephanie and Eric are sitting in on their behalf. So,
Okay, Don, you have a question? No?
Good.
Okay. Eric?
Good evening. So at the south plant, the operators had noticed the 2 clarifiers were not flowing equally. So they tried different ways, different valve manipulations. And it was decided that to fix it, we had to drain it and clean it. So just kind of a picture of the level of effort it took to go get the stuff inside that tank and pull it out. This is a picture of some of the tight spaces they were working in. And this is some of the debris they pulled out that was actually blocking the flow of that clarifier. So I'd like to say this is a very successful project. Both clarifiers are flowing excellently like they should have been. So membrane replacement elements have started. This is the staging area the guys have set up, kind of try to do it in an orderly fashion. So far they have 24 replaced out of 100. It took them about a week to do that. So we're looking at a 4-week fully completed change out. The operators assure me that once they get the rhythm down, they can maybe shorten this up to 3 weeks. So that's a big thing that we've gotten started. So, any questions?
Good evening, directors. The email chart that you know and love showing the traffic coming across the edge of our systems. We brought a new cybersecurity person online, so he's already started adding to that. And so we now know where the traffic's coming from in the world, and it truly is a global issue and a challenge that we face on a daily basis, identifying where traffic's coming from and then reacting to it and blocking things from foreign locations, although we do work with foreign entities, like with the filters. Our technology services program manager is working diligently on the Brightly and SpryPoint projects. An important keystone they're working on right now is the actual bill review, so what you will see that comes to you in the mail, and then also a dashboard and how you will see water consumption and your bill all in one. So we're working on that to make sure that we get it right before we roll that out. Our GIS department is now in the process of doing the utility network conversion. It's wonderful for us to increase the quality of our geospatial information, and we are kicking off the flushing program, and what you're seeing here is the flushing map for our water resources team. All of the indicators in red are things to be flushed, and all of the green are things that have already been flushed, and it's a program we do annually? Annually for the system. We're also working on a pilot project with engineering on that water budget, and so we have 750 accounts right now that we're working on piloting that water budget, and then we will expand that as we align the parcel IDs from the county with our addresses and locations in our system moving forward. I'll turn it over to Deborah.
Question?
Don?
How many accounts did you say we were doing the water budget for?
The current pilot is for 750 of them.
Okay, so that's probably all HOAs, or is it HOA and commercial?
I can get that information from Heather, and I'll get that over to you.
I think,
Yeah.
I was thinking there were 600 or 700 HOA accounts, Steve. Sound right? Something like, never mind.
I'll find out for you what specifically they are.
I'm just curious. I mean, that's a lot of work. A lot of work.
Right.
It's not easy.
Deborah.
All right, thank you. This is our last legislative update for the year. The session is over, and it was quite a roller coaster ride. But and on your desk in front of you, I did print the lobbyist's end of session recap, which will give you some more detail on several bills. And of course, we're all here to answer any other additional questions you have. But tonight, I would just like to highlight 4 of the bills that we've been following. The first one had to do with modifications to CORA. We were really hoping this bill would be signed by the governor. What it did basically was gave entities more time to respond to CORA requests, especially if the request was regarding something that was going to give the requester some financial gain. Unfortunately, the governor vetoed it, and the legislature did not have enough votes to override it. So that bill failed. It most likely will be reintroduced again, if not next year, then sometime in the future. It's kind of a hot button issue. And then the next bill was the tap fees. We were following that one very, very closely. We did get a lot of amendments to that bill that were helpful. So it's not perfect. We don't love it, but I don't think it's going to affect us all that much. The amendments are listed in the paperwork that's in front of you, and there were quite a few of them. And then the one that came up relatively late in the session was House Bill 1334, limiting the eminent domain powers of special districts, and caught us kind of by surprise, and there was a lot of pushback on this bill. It basically limited the ability of special districts to use eminent domain or dominant eminent domain on state-owned property or home rule property. Because of the amount of pushback, it was defeated in committee. However, one of the reasons that the sponsor decided to let it be defeated was because SDA offered to hold stakeholder meetings this summer to explore exactly the application and the use of dominant eminent domain. So those stakeholder meetings are going to happen probably in July and August, and we will keep you apprised of what happens with those. And then next slide, please. And then finally, the bill that we were very excited about, the water quality permitting, which reforms the way CDPHE does their permit processing, and it addresses the backlog in permit issuance. That's the Reader's Digest condensed version of that bill. There's a lot more to it, but we were very, very pleased that the bipartisan support on this bill, and it did pass both houses. It's on the governor's desk, and there's no doubt that he will sign this bill. And so this will really help us and other water districts in the permitting process to get our permits approved quicker. And so we're very proud of that. Our team was very instrumental in getting this bill passed, along with our attorney, Mike Smith, and Senator Kirkmeyer expressed her appreciation to ParkerWater for our efforts in getting this legislation. And I would like to just personally thank the board for your input during this session to help us adopt our positions on several bills, and just know that your support is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
I heard something on a TV interview concerning the tap fee bill. And so Jeff has scrubbed it. The state law is very clear. And our goal was to make sure this bill didn't mess up the state law and muddy it. And I think we're fine. But it's interesting to hear the proponents of the bill, what they think it says. And the congressman or representative said, yeah, impact fees are too high. We need to lower those. And so what he doesn't know what he's saying is if we don't collect costs imposed by growth, that then falls directly on our ratepayers. And so that's the one thing we're trying to make sure that we can continue to have growth paid for growth. So it's just interesting. The bill doesn't say that. That's just how he was thinking of it. And I just also want to thank Deborah. She already has a 60-hour-a-week job, and she gladly took on this legislative stuff. And we would not have this information if it wasn't for her. She's done a great job. So thank you, Deborah.
Any other comments? Jeff, you're on.
I actually have a none here for my update. You have absolutely no legal issues. Everything's smooth sailing right now. Yeah, I didn't really have any particular bullet points to address with you tonight other than ones I've already addressed before, so I was going to spare you anything from me unless you have any questions. Thanks.
None here. Any others?
Probably think of some. No.
Yeah. Don says he can create some.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. That gets us to approval of minutes. Do we have any corrections or adjustments to the May 8th minutes? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved?
Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second? Do we have a vote?
Yes.
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 Do we have accounts payable? Do we have any more questions that haven't been answered on accounts payable?
I've got two questions. Just one of them, there was an item, it's called Catalyst 60 annual subscription. I don't recall seeing, what is the Catalyst 60? It's on the first page.
First page.
Yeah. It's Frontier Precision Incorporated.
Nobody? We will get back to you on that.
Stumped you, huh?
You stumped us.
And the other one was
Stumped everybody.
HPMP program support, and I wasn't sure what that stood for. I think that was maybe that was with ERO Resources, and that was, I think it was page 3.
So ERO is our environmental consultant that helps us with the Native American and tribal issues. The HPC is
What is HPMP?
I don't know what it stands for, but it's doing archaeology work. So I'll have to find out what that specific piece is. But
Twice. You got us twice tonight.
Yeah, in one meeting. That doesn't happen very often.
James and Rebecca can never take off again.
yeah,
Okay. No more questions. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Do we have a vote?
yes.
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 We have, passes. Okay, financials, April 25.
Yeah, we'll pull up the presentation here. Just real quick, Director Langley. We have 233 HOA irrigation accounts in total, and there's another 297 commercial irrigation-only accounts.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure. All right, results through April. $14 million collected thus far on the operating side. We're at 94% of the budget. On the capital side, 19.1 million. We're actually at 121% of the year-to-date budget. On the operating expenditures, spent 13.5 million or 92% of the year-to-date budget. In capital so far, 7.5 million. Cash on hand, a little over 66. For operations and debt service, 109 million or almost 110 for the capital and debt service payments, and there's $106 million reserved or restricted. The big portion of that would be the Platte Valley Water, which is now over $78 million that we have set aside for that project. So, total user fees. We are up 5% compared to last year. It's right where it should be from a budget planning standpoint. Billed water consumption's up 7.7%, and the revenue's up 5% to offset that. Total operating revenue is actually down about $855,000. It's partially because of interest revenue being a little bit less than it was the prior year. We were in the 5% last year. We're about 4.5% this year, 4.4 as of right now. And that's 95% of the year-to-date budget. The big one right now is tap fees. So we've generated 281 tap fees so far this year, compared to 119 last year. So we have 26.6 thousand SFEs through about 21,500 accounts as of right now. Operating expenses for both funds, just under $12 million. That's about 926,000 over 24, but as anticipated for the most part in the 2025 budget. Capital spending is mainly going towards filtration. The Wise pump station, we actually made a payment to Wise for the DIA connection, which is currently under construction. And then again, the water rights case that we have out there to try to secure more water rights. Graphically, you can see on the left side, you can have by month and by year. You have the years 21 through 25 there. You can see that slight bump up each and every year due to the higher number of accounts that we're serving. On the right side, that's the combined through April. Again, we're more in line right now with 2022, which the beginning of 2022, we saw some of the biggest demands that we've ever had.
Question? So April 2025 lines up almost exactly with April of 2022, right?
It's close. It's a little bit higher.
Yeah, and if you look at May of 2022, if that's like any kind of predictor of what's coming, and it feels dry. I mean, my yard feels dry. We haven't seen big rains and stuff. I mean, it could be a wild ride, huh?
It could be. And I have some drought information and stuff at the end of this presentation too. And go ahead.
Well, maybe I'll just back this over to Ron. The water purification plant is running at reduced capacity, but running, right?
It is, as they replace filters. I believe they're pretty close to your 10 MGD. You're taking filters out and putting them on. So.
Yeah, we're taking a whole rack of 100 and replacing those elements that have failed across, so we'll have a full new skid that has 100 new filters. So we should be able to approach 10 for a bit if necessary.
So we're thinking we'll be on, you'll have them replaced probably within the month.
Yeah.
And that'll be a full 10 MGD.
Okay. Looks like you might need it.
Right. And our wells are pretty healthy too, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is concerning how quickly it went up this year.
Yeah. Thank you.
The one thing we do have, or two things going on for us, May compared to 2022, is it is a little bit cooler than it was in May of 2022, and there is some relief coming for about the next 7 days with a chance of storms each and every day. So we're hoping one parks over the reservoir and just helps fill it up. This shows you the billed water revenue, April of 2025 there, again, up there, and the one on the right shows you cumulative through April of 2025 compared to the other years. Tap fees, I'm amazed at tap fees this year. Not amazed, but we have a lot of developers out there that have infrastructure in the ground, and they're just waiting for customers to come in and buy some of these houses. So the fact that we're at 281 this year compared to 120, 119 last year is amazing. And I know just today or yesterday, they deposited another 21 SFEs that came in just yesterday. So those are still going. I did see that mortgage rates are creeping back up, so that might put a little bit of a damper on new construction as we continue to go forward. Rates across the board, and you'll hear about this a little later tonight too, are just so much higher when you look at it. The one on the left is for water, the one on the right is for sewer. Sewer, again, doing much better than it did the previous year.
I was talking with the town manager of Castle Rock yesterday morning at the partnership meeting, and he had indicated that Castle Rock's growth has actually slowed. It's different than us, but what they're seeing is their commercial is exceeding what they're expecting. But I was surprised to hear the housing has slowed, but they don't have as much open or homes for sale, I think. But it's interesting dynamic, though.
So did Pine Canyon get approved for annexation?
It did, and they had a meeting on it, I think, this week. And, you know, there's a lot of social media noise on it, but there apparently only 2 residents showed up. So I think that's moving forward, which
Yeah,
is a
that's-
fairly substantial development.
I think it was like 1,100 multifamily and 900 single family or something like that, so that'll be.
And then I think where the commercial part comes in on their Plum Creek exit on the west side, there's a large shopping center, hotel, rec center type stuff going in there.
Oh,
So,
Lifetime, that's right.
but I was surprised housing is flattening.
The other part I didn't mention is Tantera, which is the new one going in down here, has not had any tap fees sold there. They may have had 1 or 2 for some of their model homes, but once that kicks in too, we're just going to see some housing boom going on.
Where's Tantera?
Right down the street here, on the other side of the hill.
It's Hess and Chambers. It's the extension of Chambers.
Oh,
Past Hess.
on the
Yeah,
right side as you're heading east?
Yep.
yeah.
Where all the roads are. I mean, they've been
Yeah, where all the
road
new
building in
roads
there.
are.
Right.
Yeah. they've
Where
been
the
going
antelope aren't
nuts.
anymore.
Yeah.
So,
That will be a big development.
Very well.
so after this meeting, I'm going to have a conversation with Stephanie. Let's get those sewer guys on board. So.
And of course, the weather. So, except for about the next 7 days, it should be above average temperatures for the next 3 months and a little bit below normal rainfall expected here in the Denver area. I did put in one additional screen tonight, which is the drought monitor. So just under 80% of the state is now in a drought. Denver, Aurora, Parker are not currently in any type of drought stage, but on the right-hand side, you see, based on the category, some of the things that you will see happening around the area as the drought worsens. which it is expected to do.
Has Aurora made any noise about restrictions at all? Are they quiet?
I believe they've been quiet. I know Ron and I had a discussion the other day that we expect to get 10 million gallons or the 10,000 acre feet of water
For wise?
to South Metro from Denver and Aurora this year.
So with the soon-to-be completed DIA connection, that starts the block where in 10 years we get 100,000 acre feet. And so they're offering 10,000 acre feet for 26 or 25, 26 year, which is a substantial increase for us. We'll be seeing 4 to 6 million gallons a day for several months from Aurora. And one of the reasons is that they have it, they want to use it because they don't want to get to the end of the 10 years and owe us water, but be in a drought. So they'd rather get us our acreage as soon as possible. So that's great for us.
So they can turn the valve off later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And that's everything I had for April.
Director Wasserman, to follow up on your question about Frontier Precision, our field services purchased a Trimble unit, which is a GPS device, and that's the subscription to maintain the connection with the satellites.
Okay, so it's for the GPS.
That's correct.
Okay. I hadn't seen it before on the, usually by the time I go, after being on this several years, you see the same things and but that one I hadn't seen before, so thank you.
And I have an answer for you on the ERO. I still don't know what the acronym stands for, but part of the Army Corps environmental assessment, we have to survey the shoreline of Ruder Hess every year. And so the archaeologists go out there and they look and see if there's anything that has come up from erosion or wave action. And so they survey that and put together a report for the state and for the federal government.
Let's still make sure the record states that Bill stumped us.
Yes,
Okay.
well, you stumped the CFO. Congratulations.
Deborah and Don, I think you're on for an oath of office.
Okay, what I would love to do is invite Don's wife, Sandy, up for part of it and be part of our pictures.
bet.
So. And then as far as the cameras, you have to let us know.
Hello? Raise the right hand. Okay.
And repeat after me.
Repeat after me.
I, Donald Langley,
I, Donald Langley,
do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
and the laws of the State of Colorado,
and the laws of the State of Colorado,
and I will faithfully perform the duties of the office
and I will faithfully perform the duties of the office
of Director of the ParkerWater and Sanitation District,
as Director of the ParkerWater and Sanitation District,
upon which I am about to enter
upon which I'm about to enter
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Commissioner, Board Member Booth we'll take care of tomorrow afternoon. So.
Okay. So now we're going to take about a 10-minute break while Deborah gets these recorded.
drinks are undone.
That wasn't painful, was it?
No,
Congratulations.
it feels official. I swear.
Okay, the break is over, and now we move on to appointment of officers. Does anybody have any thoughts? But what's anybody thinking? I'm happy with the way things are, but
No change, recommendation. No, I like the way things are too.
anyone want anything different?
No.
Okay. I guess this probably takes a motion to
I think I need to remain treasurer with Steve leaving.
okay.
Yeah, I think so.
It'd be my job to watch Ron in the interim, you know, till we get.
24-hour job.
Is there like a motion that this covers
We
it?
need a motion on that?
Yeah, you just do a motion to reappoint the same officers that served last term.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Second.
We didn't have a motion yet.
Oh, I motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, do we have a vote?
Yes.
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 Okay. Request for approval, well equipment and rehabilitation project.
Good evening. My name is Alex DeFranco, and I will be talking about the well equipment replacement and rehabilitation project. So a little background about this project. We started it, it's an annual project back in 2018, and the motivation for that was really to proactively replace groundwater well equipment as it ages. So each year we look at our wells on a variety of different criteria. Some of those include water level, water quality, if there's been any failure events or things that the operators are seeing out in the field, and just the replacement and rehabilitation history. This year, the two wells that we're going to be focusing on are Parker North Denver and Ridgegate Dawson. Both of those wells have seen equipment failure and are no longer producing water. So as part of this project, we hire a contractor and they perform a video survey of the well downhole, and then they clean the well and perform step testing in high pressure jetting as necessary. And then they'll install the new equipment and then ideally take the old equipment, ship it back to the manufacturer and have it tested and rehabbed so that we could have it on site and stored in our well equipment storage building.
Is that the pump? You say well equipment, is that the?
The pump and the motor, correct, yeah. So this year we received 4 bids. Applied Ingenuity, Colorado Pump and Hydro Resources, and Lane Christensen. We have a total CIP budget for this project of $600,000. So we decided to go with Applied Ingenuity because they provide the best overall value for the district. We've successfully worked with Applied Ingenuity on this project a number of years in the past, and as well as miscellaneous maintenance issues that we've seen throughout the well's operations.
Any questions?
I got it's not so much the project there, but these wells are down right now completely. So, and this is probably more of a question for Jeff, but since we're now under the 100-year limit, when something like a well goes down, do we have a mechanism for reporting so that we're not taking water out of the well, so that we can capture ultimately the 100-year water?
I mean, Ron can answer better than I can, but the answer is yes. I mean, we track all the water that comes out, and so we're not losing any credit for water that we don't take from a non-functioning well.
Yeah, I mean, if you operated a well at 50% of the allowable yield, you've got a 200-year well, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's basically called banking. So you're banking any water that you don't take, and you can continue to use it. So later. That's right.
Makes sense. Our whole rework project is a great one. It's helped us out in the past, and I think this is this is just a necessary project. I have no problems with it.
Any other questions? Robert, you're quiet.
I have none, no.
Okay. Okay, request for approval. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Do we have a vote?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Resolution 2023-03, intent to reimburse, first reading.
Yes, so this is the first reading of this resolution. We are doing this basically for two reasons. A, as the board has heard, the wastewater consumption is slightly higher. There's a lot of new construction out there and a lot of potential for a lot more new construction that's out there. So the wastewater plant expansion has been pulled back to the current time so that we can try to make sure we're ahead of anything going above there. The second reason I am retiring and I didn't want to lose this in the transition. And so I wanted to make sure that we got it in front of you for consideration. As of right now, 100% of the plant expansion would be allocated to growth. The intent would be to, once we have a bond sale, and that could be a ways away still, we would reimburse ourselves some of the money that we're spending on design, any construction, or any of the expenses incurred with that plant. You want to make sure you do this because under a tax exempt status, the board has to actually declare their intent that they're going to do this. We've done this in other bond sales, in previous bond sales. It's a great way to make sure that you're meeting arbitrage limits as well, because you have to spend bond proceeds once you get them at a certain rate. By doing some of these upfront, that helps with that arbitrage, because right when you get the proceeds, you can reimburse yourself for expenses incurred. We have in here that we would do $75 million. That does not mean that the bond sale would be $75 million. It does not mean we would reimburse ourselves that total amount. We would more than likely use some of our cash reserves in order to drive that down. But one of the things we don't know yet, and Stephanie and I talked about this the other day, is how much the plant's going to cost. And until we get further along in the design, we don't know that yet. So this is just one of the things that you can do to declare that intent. You don't have to stick with the 75 million. You're not limited to that. It could be higher. It could be lower. So a lot of things have happened since our 2022 bond sale that I just wanted to bring to the board's attention. So interest rates, if the board remembers, our interest rate back in 2022 was 2.8%. If we would go out today, it would be about 4.8 or 5. So that's almost double what we paid and would be paying on this debt. So with that in mind, it's one of the reasons we would try to utilize as much of the cash reserves in the wastewater capital fund to try to drive that down, the amount that we would borrow. The municipal bond industry is on pins and needles. They got a little bit of relief last night, but in January, they were thinking they're all going to lose their job, because in Washington, they're talking about eliminating tax-free municipal bonds, and those would go away. You would then have to go to taxable bonds if you were going to do it, or GO, in order to get your funding for some of your projects. So they were thinking they were all going to get laid off, fired, whatever the case is. I want to make sure I get this right. The one big beautiful bill originally had in there that they were going to get rid of tax exempt financing. But the one that was passed last night by the House actually keeps the interest-free financing as an option for towns, cities, municipalities, school districts, and everything like that. But that doesn't mean it's out of the woods, because it's a lot of money. There may be some changes in the Senate that then have to be reconciled with what's in the House. So while they say they're okay for now, this would be the industry for the underwriters, they still are very cautious that they may not have a job in the future here. But it would have to transfer to other stuff. If we were to lose our tax exempt status, we would probably be looking at 5.8 to 6% on issuing debt, revenue type bond debt for the district. So again, that's a lot of money. We will certainly look at our cash reserves when we're going out and actually doing a sale, which probably won't, well, I'm sure it won't be until 2026 and possibly even early 2027. So I talked to our financial advisor today, and he's of the opinion that rates probably won't go down in the near future. And I said, well, what's your near future? Is that the next year? Is that the next 6 months? He said probably 18 months. They're still looking at probably the current interest rates will be there. So again, I'm trying to get this in front of the board just to get that intent out there so that we have the option to borrow the funds. To actually go out and borrow would be another resolution. This is just declaring the intent that if we go out for bonds, we may use some of it to reimburse ourselves. With that, I'll open it up for any questions.
If we lose our tax exempt status, but bonds that are out there in the category of tax exempt, would those be allowed to stay?
Interesting question. I asked that to the guy today, would it be retroactive? And he said, originally they were talking yes. And they got he says he believes that's probably why it got thrown out of this part of the bill, because you're talking about taking away wealth from people that have already purchased these bonds, because instead of being worth $1, they're now probably only worth 70 cents. Because you have to pay tax on them and stuff like that. So he said he thinks that's what probably killed it, is you had a lot of people that have these municipal bonds that got up there and said, no, we're not going to do that. But it could come back with the Senate too and the adjustment process.
So the other question, I guess, along with it, if they set up a date, like say by January 2026, no more tax-free bonds, so to speak, would it make sense for us to move this ahead and get the bonds before that time?
It's a great question. I would probably say we need to sit down with Stephanie at engineering to determine how quickly the bonds would be spent, because you have to spend basically 50% of the bond proceeds every 6 months to avoid arbitrage.
Yeah.
And with us getting 4.5% on our investments and paying 5%, you're not going to have an arbitrage liability there, but you still just have to look at it to make sure there isn't anything there. So it could be, but rates are still really high. I think I would still wait just to see if rates come down in the future. I don't think you're going to see a spike in rates. It's more likely they come down a little bit, especially in the short term.
Don?
Yeah, mine was similar to Bill. And if you tried to move early, you run into the arbitrage situation, or potentially run into that, particularly if interest rates on our investments went up in excess of what we ended up paying, right? That's the arbitrage, right?
Right.
So going early is pretty tough. Also, if you went early, I mean, the debt service payments start too, right? So we'd be paying debt service payments, but not really mobilizing that capital and putting it to use yet, right?
Yeah, one of the strategies we try to do in that situation is we may do interest only for 2 or 3 years, and then until the construction's done, and then start paying principal
Yeah,
on that. So maybe we do 23 years
yeah.
as a payback.
So the second question, what interest rate do you watch to try and have a barometer of what, our interest rate would be on our bonds? I mean, do you watch the 5-year Treasury, the 10-year Treasury? What's the best?
You're going to laugh, but I have found a very reliable source in looking at my Fidelity account and the fixed income amount there, and I compare that if I call the financial advisor and say, what do our rates look like now? And when we were talking on the phone today, he says, you're right on. And so that's what I look at, and they have 5, 10, 20, 30-year bonds out there, and you just do kind of a mix.
Okay, so I don't have a Fidelity account.
So you could call me.
Well, I mean, generally, is it 5-year, 10-year Treasury? I mean, is there something that these rates
The
generally track?
10-year Treasury is usually a pretty good indication
Okay.
that it's going to be slightly higher there.
Yeah.
And even the 30-year Treasury, too. Now, if there is a lot of volatility in the market,
Right.
sometimes you got to take that into consideration. But in general, yeah, you could look at the 10-year Treasury and then the 20 and 30-year Treasuries and get a pretty good idea that it'll be slightly higher.
Yeah, okay. I just read something that the 5-year might hit 5%, so if that's the case, the 10-year's going up too, and we just may get caught in a cycle here that we can't avoid. Yeah,
The one item that the financial advisor did say to me today, he goes, you might think rates are higher, and they certainly are from what we've enjoyed the last 12 years. He said, but it's still about 60% of what they would consider a normal
yeah,
rate for municipal bonds. So it's still lower than what they've seen in the 20, 25-year period. It's
not awful.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay, thank you.
Any more questions? None here? Okay, that's the first reading. If there's nothing else anybody has to offer?
I'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and you can ask more questions if you got them.
Okay, in that case, adjourned.